Hey everyone, this remediation video is for substitution, which is actually a review from Algebra 1, but this is for Algebra 2 class. It's from Unit 0. What will you learn in this video? You're going to learn vocabulary, which is substitution, value, square, fraction, expression, and equation. You're also going to learn about function notation. And then the last part is you're going to learn how can you use your TI-83 graphing calculator to help you check. So the first part, we're just going to go through examples and we'll build up from easy to difficult, so please copy on your paper. So example number 1 we're doing is just substitution with one variable. So I'll zoom in. So here we have 6x plus 7 when x equals 7. So the equal sign means is, okay? So we are going to change all the x's to a 5. So in this expression, right, this is an expression. As a review, expressions do not have equal signs in them. So this one's an expression. In this expression, it's 6x plus 7. We only have one x. So I'm going to copy below everything. Except for the x, I'm going to put parentheses instead. Okay. Now, the questions always give you information, right? Here's information right here, and you have to use it. So we're changing the x to a 5. Now, if you wanted, you could type this into a TI-83 calculator to check, which we'll do after, but for now, remember that parentheses mean multiplication. So 6 times 5 is 30, copy down the plus 7, and then we're going to add, and we'll get 37. What this is telling us is when x is 5, and we put it inside this function, or expression, the answer is 37. So this is technically the y value. All right. To the right, we have another example. So I'm going to give you 1 minute and you can solve and then you can check your answer. All right, here's the work. You should have that y becomes a 3 because that's what we're substituting. That's the information they gave us. So we have parentheses again, which means multiplication. 9 times 3 is 27. We're going to subtract 10 and that equals 17. All right, we're on example number 2 now. This time there's 2 substitutions. This means that there's more than one location that you have to substitute a number. So again, I'll do the first one and then you'll be able to do the second one on your own. So here in number 3, the information that we have is that g is 7. Okay, so that's the information I need to use. So my expression right here, I'm going to copy everything except I'm going to change the variable to parentheses. So I have 14. Instead of g, I'm going to put parentheses, minus 98 plus 3 parentheses. Because this one has bigger numbers, I will show you how you can do it on a TI-83. So we are changing the g to 7. Okay, so now this is where you can use a TI-83, or if you want to do it by hand. So I'll do it by hand first, and then afterwards we'll check in the TI-83. So first we have multiplication, and we have multiplication here. This one we're just going to copy below. So 3 times 7 is 21, and then 14 times 7, I'll do it by hand. Okay, so it should be 21, but again, I'm going to show you how to use a TI-83 to solve this. Okay, so here I have my TI-84 Plus online calculator, and I'm going to type the problem we had. So even before you multiply, you could just type out the whole problem. So we have 14 parentheses 7. Minus, remember, is right here. There's a red rectangle around it. So we're going to do 98 plus 3 parentheses 7. Enter, and there's our answer, 21. So this is how you can do it. If you want to break it up into parts, you could do parts. So you could do 14 times 7, 98, and then you could do 98 minus 98. And then you could do 0 plus 3, this is 7. And you get the same answer if you wanted to break it up into parts as well. So we're going to go back here. So our answer is 21. All right. Here's the practice problem. So you're going to have 2 minutes to solve this, and then you'll get the multiple choice question to check if it's correct. Okay, your answer should be 63. So again, if we check, h is 8. That's the information they provided us. So we're substituting the value of 8 in the variable h. Okay, now if you want to do this in the calculator, this is how you could do it. We have 6 times 8 plus 25. Now, if I want to show you how to do a fraction for a review, so we're going to put a minus sign. Minus. Now the next part is a fraction. So in case you forgot how to do a fraction in the calculator, the buttons are alpha, y equals, and enter. So now you have that little square over a square. And again, we're just going to put this in there. So we have 5 times 8 over 4. So I'm going to do 5, parentheses 8, bottom 4. Answer 63, which is what we got, so that is correct. All right, we're moving on to the next type. Example 3 is when you have 2 variables. So now we have more than one piece of information. We have 2. So here it says that m is 1. Okay, we have to use that. And then p is 5. So again, here you're just going to change the variable to parentheses, but we're going to copy everything else down. So be careful where you're putting each value. So m is 1, so this is m, right? And put a 1 there. Okay, then we have p is 5, so that's going to be this one. Right, and then now we can solve. So 5 squared, just as a little review, this is 5 times 5. We have it 2 times. Do not do 5 times 2, that is very wrong. So the answer should be 25. We're doing the square. Okay, so this is 25 plus 1, which is 26. Okay, if you need to do this in the calculator, I'll show you where the exponent button is. So we have parentheses 5, parentheses, and then right here is where you have the square button. Okay, so I'm going to click that, and then plus 1. Okay, and it should be 26, which is what we got. Okay, now we have the next example problem. So you're going to have 2 minutes to do this, and then you're going to have the multiple choice question, and you can check if it's correct. Your answer should be 4, and again, just to show you, z is 2, so each of these z's is going to become a 2. And then we also have the y, which is a 10, so this y becomes 10. Now, I always like to put extra parentheses in case you have a negative sign. If you don't use parentheses, you'll get it wrong. So it's always best to use extra parentheses. If you notice here, I simplified 2 plus 4 is 6. I still have parentheses, and just to make sure, this is a negative, this is a positive, which makes it negative. You keep the sign. So it's 10 minus 6, which is 4. All right, the next type of problem, this is function notation. Okay, so it's written a little bit different. It doesn't say when h is 6, but that is basically what this means right here. When h, or sorry, I said that wrong. When x equals 6. Oh, in this case it's t. Oh my gosh, Miss Weber needs a coffee. So if you notice right here, h of t, that's how we say h of t. That t is now changing to a 6. So here's our function, and yes, this time there is an equal sign, but we're not going to solve it like an equation. So again, I'm just going to copy. So I have the absolute value sign, I have plus 3 outside and plus 2 inside. I'm going to put parentheses for the variable t. Okay, and again, t is the number 6. That's what we're putting inside this problem. Okay. Again, here at this point, if you wanted to stop and just use your TI-84, you could, or you can solve it by hand. We did just do the absolute value unit. So 6 plus 2 is 8. On the outside, we have plus 3. The absolute value of 8 is 8. So now we have 8 plus 3, which is 11. That's your final answer. Again, I'm going to give you a couple minutes, and now you're going to have to solve the next problem. It is a little bit more difficult, and you do have to use the exponent function in the calculator if you need to, or the exponent will be a small number, so it should be easy to solve. So now you're going to have a couple minutes to solve this. All right, the final answer is 3. So here, remember this time we're changing a to the number 1. Okay, so this a becomes 1. And then we're going to simplify. 3 times 1 is 3. And in the exponent, we're doing 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 to the power of 1 is 3. This is our final answer. So basically, when the input, that's another word we can use, the input is 1, the output is 3. This technically is still the x in a calculator and a graph, and this is the y. I know in this case we used the letter A, but at the end, if you were to put in a calculator and check, that's what it would signify. All right, moving on to the next section. So now we're going to get into our test-like questions, okay? You just need to solve each of these, and I'll put the final answers. So I'm going to give you some time to solve these. All right, so for the first problem, it's 10. So if you look, W is 9. I'm going to do it in yellow. So this W became 9. X is 5. So I changed that X to 5, and then we just had to multiply. 9 times 10 is 90, 4 times 5 is 20, then we add 110, you're going to write it in the box. Now the other one, this one uses function notation. Okay, so again, personally I like to copy the problem, and then the thing that I'm trying to find is what I put right there. So I know, for example, that X is now negative 4. So in my copied problem, this X is now becoming negative 4. This is where this is a common mistake because they forget that negative is outside, X is also negative. So it's a double negative, which becomes positive. So I have positive 4 plus 2 is 6. All right, moving on to the next problem. This one's a quadratic, so I'm going to give you 2 minutes, solve it, and then check if you got it correct. Okay, you should have gotten 340, and I'll review. So this X, which is right here, became a 10. So we're changing all the x's, so this is a multiple location problem. Again, there's multiplication, so I have to change this x to 10 and this x to 10. Here you need to do the exponent first, so 10 squared is 100, and then we're going to do those parentheses, which is 4 times 100 is 400. Here we had negative 4 times 10 is negative 40. Okay, so we keep simplifying all the way down to 340. All right. So the next section of the test, one of the last ones we're going to go over is finding the value in the graph. So basically, we're doing find the value of f of negative 2. So normally this is f of x. So what it's saying is when x is negative 2, what is the y value? Okay, so I'll write that down. Okay, so really quick, here's my x-axis. I'm looking for negative 2, which is right here. Okay, but obviously I can't start there. I want to hit the graph. So I'm going to go all the way down or up until I hit a graph. So in this case, I'm going to go down. There's my graph. So that's when x is negative 2. My y value is negative 6. And that would be my answer. Okay, so here my x value is negative 2, but my y value is negative 6. All right, the last type of problem, which was the most difficult, and almost everyone in class got it wrong, is when you're given the output, what's the input? So for all of those problems, we were given the input, which is x. So now we're actually going to go backwards. What happens if you're given y first? Okay, so I'm going to copy the problem above. F of x equals negative 3x minus 1. So if you notice, it says f of x is, let me zoom in, f of x is right here, negative 10. So, I'm going to make it easier to read, is negative 10. So we need to use that information. So again, this is another form of substitution. So f of x is negative 10. We don't know the x value here. That's why it says solve for x, because we don't know x. So now we're just going to have to use the Algebra 1 skills, and we're going to solve for the x. So if you do the traditional method, you can do it that way. If you do it my way, you can also solve my way. So I'm going to solve it my way. I want the x to be positive, so cross the line, change the sign. Negative 10 becomes positive. Subtract 9. This is multiplication. Opposites division. and I get that the x value is 3. What this means is if I take this x value of 3 and I put it into this function, I'm going to get that the y value is negative 10. So we are working backwards in this problem. Again, take a few minutes and then solve this last problem. One more time, this one is different. Okay, so g of x is 6, so this whole entire thing is 6. And then I solve for x, because we have to solve for x. I don't have x. And the answer was negative 9. All right, next activity that you have to do is the practice on delta math to make sure that you're ready to do the retake. Good luck.